Hello everyone and welcome to the end of 2015, unless you're already watching this in 2016, then it's, happy 2016. But I figured end of the year, why not do a top 10 list of the best Transformers that I personally added to my personal collection. Now, figured since you're not just staring at a blank wall, I'll just put the D-Style Starscream here. He's not on the list. He is really, really cool. And he was a fun little kit to put together. I recommend these D-Style kits if you want to put some of these together. I know there's Megatron, Optimus, Starscream, a few others. But anyway, enough of that. Some of these figures came out in 2014, like towards the tail end. I think one actually came out in 2013, but I did not personally add them to my collection until 2015. These are all things I got in 2015. So this in no way represents like what the consensus in the fandom is of what the top 10 best figures are. Yes, there are third-party figures on it. There are also a lot of Masterpiece figures on it. Why? Because they're Masterpiece figures. What else would you expect on a top 10 best list? Anyway. So, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with my honorable mention. Because I do have an honorable mention to go on this list. And I would have put it higher. But I forgot about something that I got in 2015 that I wanted on the list. So, these ended up getting bumped down. So, bear with me. Coming up, the honorable mention. Alright, and here's my honorable mention. See, I've got 3 figures here, and this is all 3 representations of the Leader Class Seeker mold. Now, the reason why they got bumped down to honorable mention is because, while they are great figures, they are basically just retools of Jetfire from 2014. Now, Starscream does not have his crown. You will find out why later. I do have his crown, but it's just not gonna be on his head. It's going to somebody better. Anyway, they're really nice. I'm going to do a video, a more in-depth video of all 3 of these in maybe a week or so. But until then, let's just say they're honorable mention. Great figures. Fantastic figures. But I think what I've got on my list is better. So we'll start with number 10.
Number 10.
And coming in at number 10, we have Leader Class Ultra Magnus from Combiner Wars, which is a fantastic representation of Ultra Magnus. And I know some people argue he should be higher on the list. No. No. He can't hold his weapons. That's a big flaw. If they'd given him slightly better hands where he could have held his guns without them falling, he might have been higher. Now, that's not taking... Mind you, I got a ton of figures this year. Probably a good 100 figures or more entered my collection this year. These are what I feel are the best of those 100 or so figures. He's a great figure. None of the figures on my top 10 list are crap at all. But he does not rank higher because of his hands. He has a fun transformation, though very simple. It's cool that he has little Minimus Ambus inside him. Even though he looks like one of those knights from, Monty Python. So, there you go. Number 10, Leader Class Ultra Magnus.
Number 9.
Coming in at number 9, we have a twofer. And it's both versions of Leader Class Megatron. The Armada version and the G1 version. Now, I just recently got the Armada version. So it's nice to have both versions of Megatron here. Not a bad figure. The feet are what hold him back a little bit, and his weird hips. I found the best way to pose him is to have always have his one leg turned It gives him a little more stability, and you don't get that whole his legs are straight together like that look. So there. They're really good figures, though. They really are. I mean, rubber treads for the tank that actually move. Tank modes where it has full 360 rotation on the gun barrel. All engineered into a leader size class figure. So there we go. Number 9, the leader class Megatron mold from Combiner Wars.
Number 8.
Coming in at number 8. Now, I might get a little flack for this because some people feel he should be way higher. Personally, Masterpiece Starsaber, while being a fantastic figure, has some flaws, and because I have no attachment to the character in the past, I have no attachment to the character now. I don't know much about the actual character Starsaber. I just thought he was a kick-ass looking Masterpiece figure, so I ended up getting him. I'm not disappointed for getting him. What I am disappointed with is the fact that this figure, who was close to $200, had a left arm that couldn't hold up his shield, and how his sword is not facing the right direction in his hand. There are some design choices they took with this that they should have rethunk a little bit. The ratchets in his elbows are nowhere near strong enough, unfortunately. I had to take apart his left arm, and I put in a small piece of plastic to tighten up the ratchet a little bit, plus a whole lot of clear nail polish. And as you can see, now he can hold his shield up without his arm drooping. But it took a lot of work. He's still a fantastic figure. He looks awesome. And that's about all I could say. So, my number 8 figure for the year is Masterpiece Starsaber. And I know I never did a review of him. I don't know if I'm ever going to. It's getting a little late now. But he's still a really good figure.
Number 7.
And we're up to number 7. Number 7 for me is DX9's Invisible. This, to me, is my version of Masterpiece Mirage. I know a lot of people like Sphinx. Sphinx just recently came out. He came out at the tail end of 2014, but I didn't get him till 2015. Thank you, TF Source, for your pain in the butt policies. Anyway. I like his look. There's just something about him. Some people feel he's a little too thin. I don't. I feel he's the right proportions for me, for my Masterpiece collection. It's a personal preference thing, guys. If you like the way he looks, he's your Masterpiece Mirage. If you like the way Sphinx looks, he's your Masterpiece Mirage. I would have loved to have him higher on the list, but there's some really great figures coming up on this list. Some that are more recent. So, yeah. Coming in at number 7, Invisible from DX9.
Number 6.
Coming in at number 6, it is Masterpiece Ultra Magnus. He is far better, in my opinion, than the leader class Ultra Magnus that came out from Combiner Wars. That's why he's much higher. But I still think there are figures that are better than him. He is fantastic. Unfortunately, he does miss a few key points of articulation that I would have liked to have seen. That being said, this is the greatest Ultra Magnus figure that has ever been produced. You can't go wrong with him. He looks the part. He comes with 2 different faces, one where he's screaming and getting ready to be blown up. He comes with hands that can hold the Matrix. He has a Matrix chamber himself that is just like it was in the movie. He's just all around a great representation of what a masterpiece figure should be, and this is why he's on my top 10 list for the year. So, get yourself a Masterpiece Ultra Magnus. You won't be disappointed. Number 6, Ultra Magnus.
Number 5.
As we enter my top 5 best figures for my collection in 2015, you knew there was going to be another Starscream on this list. Just knew it. Coming in at number 5, Masterpiece Starscream, the Hasbro version of the MP11 mold. This was gotten for me by my good friend Michael Bro from the Bro Show, and he sent it to me after he got him. This is the old Coronation set that's on him from, I can't even remember who makes it now, but I had this on my other Masterpiece Starscream that was MPO4, I think was the mold. Except for the crown. The crown is actually, that is where the Leader Class Starscream's crown ended up. I gave it to him. It doesn't hold on his head as tightly as I would like, but when he's static in the display, it looks fine. This is the actual crown that went to that Coronation set. Now, he can wear this crown, but you have to squeeze in the vents on the side of his head, and it kind of looks a little awkward, but it does lock in just like on the other Masterpiece Starscream mold. So I felt that the Leader Class crown would fit this better, lets him keep his vents on the side of his head. But I just love this. I love what they did with this. Now, I want to do a complete video on him at some point in time. They did do a few changes on the mold. One of which is he no longer has the floppy chest. What they did is they tightened this part in here so that, yeah, it makes it a pain in the butt to slide the cockpit down, but if you stretch these out just slightly to let things come down, all this compresses enough to hold it in place tightly, so you don't get like you did with Thundercracker or Sunstorm or Acid Storm, or even the original release of MP11 from Japan, where, you know, Emgo shows you in almost every video he shows this guy where, you know, it just flops up and down his chest. This one doesn't do that. So they did make a few improvements to the mold. Not to mention, Hasbro actually put silver outlines around his Decepticon symbols, which make them stand out a little bit better than the Takara version. So there you go. Number 5 on my list, Masterpiece Starscream from Hasbro.
Number 4.
And coming in at number 4, from KFC, it is their Transistor, which is their version of a Masterpiece Blaster. Now, I've got the first issue of him with the metallic red paint, which I just love. It just makes him pop so much in my collection. I will say I've seen the pictures of the new version with just the flat red paint. While it's nice, just having the molded red plastic and stuff like that, I feel this is the better version. Now, there were two or three different runs of this. The very first version is the one where his little cassette buddy was made out of die cast and the paint flaked off and his metallic paint flaked off. Luckily, I got what was probably the second production run of this version, where they changed the cassette over to plastic, which works better, and his paint job is better. I have had no flaking of his metallic paint at all, and considering I've had him since probably, I want to say, March, he's been fantastic. So there you go. Number 4 on my list, Transistor, also known as Masterpiece Blaster from KFC.
NumberThree.
Coming in at number 3 on my list, and keep that in mind, this is my personal list. So I know people will probably argue, Trax should be lower on the list. No, not to me. Trax is my all-time favorite Autobot. So when they announced the Masterpiece version, I had to have him. Luckily, my friend Connie, bless her soul, she sent him to me for my birthday. And this is also why he's higher on my list, because he was a gift, and he's my favorite Autobot, and I think he is superb. A lot of people complain about his backpack. He's supposed to have his backpack like that. That's part of his character. The metallic paint on him is just beautiful. His design is fantastic to me. That they incorporated both his flight mode, car mode, and robot mode all into a Masterpiece figure took some guts. He has a fun transformation. I love his look. Not much else I could say. Number 3 on my list, Masterpiece Trax.
NumberTwo.
And here we are, the penultimate figure on my top 10 best figures of 2015 list. Make Toys Gundog, the cartoon version. This thing is probably as perfect of a figure as you could ask for. With the weight of all the die-cast in him, but the die-cast being in the right places so that he is very stable. There's no chance of him falling. There's no chance of him doing anything. He can hold some great poses. He looks just like Hound had stepped out of the cartoon, at least to me. I can't say enough about this figure. I mean, I just did a video on him recently. He's a recent addition to the 2015 lineup of figures that have been released. But he deserves his spot as number 2 on my list. But who did I feel was even better than him? Coming up, number 1.
NumberOne.
And here he is, folks. Number 1 on my list of the top 10 best figures of 2015. X-Transbots Apollyon. Now, if you had asked me a couple years ago if anything X-Transbots list would ever make it to a top 10 list, I'd probably say no. They put love into this figure. And there are people who will nitpick this figure to death. And it's stupid that they do. No figure is perfect. That's why Star Saber's so low on my list of top 10, because I've had to do so much to him. I haven't had to do much to Apollyon. Since I reviewed him, I have changed out his shoulders, which I say are a marked improvement, but they added those pieces so that you could do that. That was part of the package that you got. KFC really stepped their game up. X-Transbots, even though they are kind of the same company. They really stepped their game up with him. And their follow-up figure of Andras, their version of Scourge, I don't have him, but everyone I know who does have him loves him. This is the Masterpiece Megatron we should have gotten from Takara years ago. Not that floppy, skinny-legged mess that falls apart if you cough at it. People sit there and go, oh, it's a Masterpiece figure. It should be perfect. There are people whose Masterpiece Rodimuses fell apart just from transforming them. As in broken. As in gonna have to be replaced. No company gets things 100% perfect, but if they put in the effort to give you the best product they can, then it deserves your praise. If this figure's not for you, that's fine. But for me, since this is my list, he is the best figure I got this year. He is the Megatron I have always wanted. He is the Megatron we deserve. Was he a perfect figure? No. They acknowledged that, and they gave you the parts to make him as perfect as you could make him. But you're not going to get much more masterpiece Megatron than this. I don't see Takara producing something of this quality, or at least of this nature, to give us a Megatron that transforms into the gun with all the parts and yet looks this good and this cartoon accurate in robot mode. It's not going to happen. Can't tell you they're going to do it. They're going to take another stab at it. Maybe they should take more than 12 days to design a figure next time. I will never own MP5. It's just never going to come into my collection. This is the Megatron for me. X-Transbot's Apollyon. My #1 figure that I added to my collection this year. And I am not disappointed. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My top 10 personal favorite figures that I added to my collection in 2015. There are some great figures here. If you can afford all these, I recommend every single one of them. All of them are fantastic in their own right. Some have flaws, some don't, but all are great. So here's to a great 2016. I'm hoping to get more videos out to you in 2016. We'll see what happens. Until then, everybody please be good.